So we're very lucky this week to be joined by the fantastic young warrior, who is he's the son of dub legend Jar Shaka, but also in his own right has a fantastic fastly expanding sort of Dubwise festival, which is based in Notting Hill Carnival every year. And you're also a huge producer of dub music and sound system music in London. So what would be great maybe to start off with is, I guess, maybe a good question to begin is, how have you been the past few months? How has it been for you? What's it been like for you, this whole crazy period we're living through at the moment?
COVID-19, it's been a very interesting one. It's been something that we've never dreamt about or could ever think could happen to us in this modern day time. You know, we kind of think when the plague happened and when all these flus happened ages ago and so many people died, we thought that we were prepared, we had enough technology to kind of suffice. Obviously not.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows that nature is always going to be king. Mother Nature is always going to run things, so we say. So yeah, it's been kind of interesting. I've been doing my thing, as in still creating music, and obviously doing different online projects with people and kind of different ways of working, but it's not really unfamiliar to me. My history in the media kind of industry goes back a long time, from working with like the BBC and MTV Base and National Theatre and loads of other different places. So it's been an amazing thing, interesting thing. So all the things that I was doing before, I'm kind of really still doing. So not much has changed, just the lack of actual live music events. That's the part which is definitely lacking, which I cannot wait to get back onto a dance floor and partake in.
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone's feeling that. It's sort of like counting down the days at this point, even though we don't know when it's going to be. But it's been difficult. So as I said before, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on is because you're so influential. You've big part of your music, and as you said, you produce a lot of dub music, and you're involved in sound system music as well. People who might not know, might not be familiar with it, could you maybe give a brief overview of what dub music is, what sound system is, and why you're so inspired by it, why you've chosen to sort of go down that route?
So people would have heard of the likes of Lee Scratch Perry. They may have heard the likes of Coxsone Jamaica, the kind of authentic, one of the first major Jamaican record labels out there, owned by a Jamaican. You also had Duke Reid. You have people like Augustus Pablo, people like Dennis Brown. These are kind of reggae music's foundations, who were there from the early days. And even going back even more, you had Stranger Cole, you had, oh gosh, so many different, you had Bob Andy, you had John Holt. So music within those kind of calibers and frames are the kind of music I kind of produce here in the UK. When the popularity of reggae started to happen, it blew up a lot in the UK. Like, it blew up a lot from Jamaica into the UK. You had producers bringing their records over here, to kind of play and get popularity, to try and get into the charts. The reggae music kind of influence was really big here, because obviously with the Windrush generation, a lot of Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean families and individuals settled here. So we had our own little kind of communities, and every community needs its own music. So that's how that kind of happened. And the artists used to come and basically chill in the UK and hang out, like in South London. Used to hang in North London, all the places where we'd usually think. So the Hackneys, the Peckhams, the Cadwalls, the Brixtons. You could walk around and see maybe Beanie Man. You could walk around and see maybe, Luciano walking the street somewhere, or doing some shopping. You could see Michael Rose of Black Uhura just hanging out. It was so cash. It was so cash, and that shows you the kind of vibe that London kind of had at a time, where music and arts on the whole was everybody. It was like the New York. Everybody wanted to be. This was the place. This was the Hollywood. This was like, you make it or break it. So people used to do basically sabbaticals here, spend months here trying to get into the charts and getting more known. So I'm coming off of that kind of generation. Obviously, my father,
Yes, so
Jashaka, a great.
I was going to say, like, for you, you didn't need to sort of come and do a sabbatical. You grew up, you were born into it to some degree, I guess.
Well, let's say it's a very long sabbatical.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
But no, I did grow up into it. But the thing is, which a lot of people don't realize, when you have a family member or a parent who is well known in a certain industry, you don't necessarily have to be the one to take it up.
Of course.
My father could have been a butcher, and I didn't want to cut up animals. Do you know, it didn't.
Yeah.
It could have been it could have gone any way. But the fact was that it was within me, and I had a natural love and passion for it from a very young age. You know, my mum knew my dad, was going to my dad's events, and you know, she became pregnant by him, and I was in her belly, and she was still going to these events, you know, late night clubs and dancing, loud music, and which people be like, oh my god, like, wow, like, I can't believe she's such an irresponsible mother. But no, like, that was the kind of hippie times, you know. It was a great times. It was a time of Black awareness, Black culture, Black empowerment, revolution, music, freedom. You know, the 70s was a great time. 70s was a great time. 70s and 80s was a great time for arts and music, and underground culture as well. And yes, I came off of that kind of branch and generation. So yeah, and I've just been doing my thing, and obviously merging it with my age of what I know now. I grew up listening to the likes of Miss Dynamite. I grew up listening to Sticky, General Levy, Heartless Crew, all of the So Solid Crew. That was my kind of era, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Listen to it would have been garage back then, UKG, Two Step. You know, I'll Bring You Flowers, all of those kind of tunes, and R&B.
Just sort of weirdly coming back now a little bit, isn't it? Garage is sort of making a sort of a second. It's a little bit. Yeah.
It's evolved. It's definitely evolved, but it's weird from where it's coming from, because now meeting these guys, and I'm now at these guys' events and actually working with them, and they tell me a lot about like my father, because their parents used to go to my father's events.
Oh wow!
So
it's gone like weirdly circular,
full circle. Like if you speak to Miss Dynamite and Akala and all of these, of course, and they told the story, and it's like, but it's amazing, because I used to look up to them and idolize them so much. And you know, one time it was very shocking, like when Spice Girls were really big, and I was at Reggae Sunsplash. My dad was performing at Reggae Sunsplash in Victoria Park, and Melanie B was there, and I was like, wow, like one of the Spice Girls is here, and like she had all entourage. It was like when they were really big, and I thought it felt so weird, like this is a pop group at a reggae concert, like in the park. And she saw me, and she saw my dad, and she put her arm around me and everything. And she was like proper like in, and I was like, wow, like this is crazy. So it's mad that you can grow up now. I've grown up now and be able to meet these people, and these people tell me stories about how their parents used to listen and go out to my father.
Yeah. So it's interesting though, because it said you grew up on that music, sort of a lot of hip hop but then you chose to sort of go down a bit of a different route, maybe one that wasn't, you know, the music that your dad was making wasn't the one that was being listened to at school when you were growing up, if that makes sense.
No. Yeah, so, it wasn't the norm.
It wasn't the norm. So how did you end up choosing to sort of veer off and do that thing? What made you decide to sort of take that different route, do you think?
To tell you the truth, I didn't really veer off. I kind of always had done both.
Yeah,
so
I see.
When producing music, I was producing UKG. I was producing what they call now grime. I had a little MC group. This was at the times where crews were the thing. So Heartless Crew, and my crew was called Harmony Crew, because it was always, and I was pushing a whole kind of positivity within music.
I like that. Very nice.
So it was like a kind of Fuji's kind of tip. So I was the producer, the male producer, and I had like a group of girls I was working with. And one was an MC, so like the Lauryn Hill. It was like it was good, and you know, sick, and it's weird then, obviously, because I gave our demo tape to Miss Dynamite when I was younger, and then she passed it to her record label Polydor. So this is even without even knowing that you
could make like some weird diagram of like all the different connections between all these different things.
That's how you know certain things are meant to be.
100%.
You know, where you cross paths with people so many different times and actually not know that you're connected in some way, shape or form. But yeah, I was always doing both, and I still am kind of doing both. I haven't made any kind of mainstream kind of style music recently. I've just really been on the reggae thing, but I am able to do it. My ability is still there to kind of make that kind of music.
That's very cool. I wanted to talk also about right now, talking about sort of the understanding the environment in which we're living in. You spoke about the 70s, about Black empowerment, and that whole thing there. Again, we're in a real pivotal moment right now. Over the summer, there was the Black Lives Matter protests and everything around there. And again, it was a strange one because I guess I don't know, but there's a sense in which everyone's producing music, but again, you can't play it out in the same way that you would have done if it wasn't the pandemic and whatever else. How does though that politics and music, how do they link up? How do you see that connection?
Well, with reggae music specifically, we've always been a revolutionary genre because we've always been about not to sound hippie-ish, but it's always been about peace and love and equality. Yeah. Some people take it in their own stances on it, but that's what we've always maintained, and about empowering the small man, you know, and fighting against the rich getting richer and the poor and get the poor getting poorer. We've always fought against those things. So reggae music has always been a kind of a weapon for liberty and awareness and peace and acceptance and like I said, empowering the small man. So those are values that we hold and have held for a long time. And obviously back in the 70s, it was, you know, racism was very rife. More, I can't even compare this to you because I wasn't around then, but I've heard stories from my grandparents, you know, then getting excrement shoved through their door, somebody cutting off like family members' hair while on the bus, all of these kind of things, bullying in school, the N-word going around and all of these different words. And because obviously we were new today, we weren't even new, but it was just like, I don't know what happened with Britain at that time, but people just didn't like us. They didn't like the loud music, they didn't like our joy, they didn't like what we wore. We wore bright colors, we were out there, we had character, we were very charismatic.
God forbid you have some character in Britain. It's a scary
thing. Like it was kind of like against the norm. But then you think, you know, imagine the world or the London or the UK that you would have found if it stayed how it was way back then, and we didn't have these influxes of different cultures coming in and bringing, you know, Nando's and Jamaican takeaways and all of these kind of food places. And you know, it's been a melting pot for cultures, and I think it's been great for each other, learning from each other. It's been amazing, 100%. You know, and I just think it's been amazing. 100%. But yeah, summer was definitely a kind of like literally it was like the 70s all again, you know. Very shameful, very shameful that I had to go back to that. Very shameful to see riots. Very shameful to see having to have an uprising, obviously, in the time where you think. But you have big artists like Jay-Z and Beyonce and Busta Rhymes and Missy Elliott and Giggs and Stormzy. And you're telling me these people don't listen to these people? You're telling me that they don't know these people exist? They've never listened to a black song or a black artist in their life? Like, why does it seem like we're so alien all of a sudden? But it was only because we were making noise about and trying to defend ourselves where suddenly we had the kind of knife, unfortunately, turned on us as if we didn't exist.
Yeah, I remember you talking about sort of them not listening to black music. I remember there's Louis Theroux does a great documentary, and I think it was a while ago, and he went to sort of racist South Africa, and he's looking through this leader of one of these racist organizations, and he's looking through his music collection, and he sort of takes out all these albums by black artists, and it's like, but you're listening to this, is like, well, their music's good, and I was like, you can't do one and not the other.
Then you got to think of the original skinheads. Skinheads have this kind of stereotype, but they loved a lot of ska music. They loved a lot of the bluesy. They loved, you know, Toots and the Maytals. They loved ska, like, and it's people will think, wow, but imagine that was the punk age with people like Don Letts and all of that being at the forefront, pushing the kind of rock and reggae kind of coming together, and obviously Bob Marley at that time with like the Rolling Stones and all of these big people, and John Legend, and not John Legend, I was quite John Legend. John Lennon. John Lennon going to Jamaica, and the Beatles going to Jamaica and coming back with all these different vibes. Yeah. And remember, James Bond was written in Jamaica. People forget much of their kind of culture, which they think is theirs, has been influenced by so many different things.
100%. I was thinking about what one song that I heard of yours that I think you produced, Father Forgive Them, which was with your Sister Beloved, and that is such a powerful, that's so powerful, because again, what was the quote that I've written down here? Taking people from their children and wives, like that's sort of part of it then, and that was 2014, and sort of nothing, you know, is quite crazy how, you know, you could have written that this summer. It's a terrible thing, but it again.
Well, even before this summer, you had, you know, kids in America being taken from their, you know, the children being taken away from their parents. So it's, you know, it's crazy. And this is why, you know, reggae music has always had songs which told the future. It's mad. If you could listen to songs from like the 70s, the 80s in reggae music, speaking about events which will happen. The prophecy, we always say the prophecy must be fulfilled. What was like written then always comes to pass. And it's weird that this is the type of music that will always live on, because there's always going to be good and bad in this world. No matter how hard we fight it, it will always be that. So there will always be a genre of music you can turn to which will empower you, and that was always going to be reggae music.
So you spoke about prophecy there, and like that's a nice segue, I think, to sort of talk about the religious dimension of reggae music and of sound system music. Do you see sort of, if we had sort of a trinity there of sort of your music and politics and faith, you see them all coming together in one? Do you think in the music? How does the faith part come in, do you think? In
reggae, obviously with reggae, it comes from the awareness of Rastafari. That's first and foremost. And also you have to remember, and people that may not even be aware of Rastafarianism, is that it does kind of stem from Christianity. It's very kind of close in its what we read, like the Old Testament. People that most of our parents, and most of Rastafarian parents, came from Christian families, which held certain ethics, certain principles, you know, having manners, stepping out of the room when the elders are talking, you know, and children being children and knowing their place, and adults being adults and knowing their place, and doing good deeds and helping when you can. All of these kind of ethics and principles were taught to them, and they obviously then interpreted that, and obviously what Marcus Garvey was saying, a lot of black leaders about empowering our race, and linked that all, and where we found, and where Marcus Garvey prophesied and said, you know, look to the east for a crowning of a king, his name will be, you know, and then we looked to the east, and it was written in the Bible however long ago about a crowning of the king, and he will be crowned the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. That is in the Bible. And then here comes this man in 1930 born, and then he gets crowned the Lion of Judah. So it's like, oh my God. And everybody's like, wow, like it's happened. It's a prophecy, you know, but just the general link of Rastafarian culture, that kind of message. And I was thinking about before speaking to you, that you have to kind of think at a time where the world and the mainstream wasn't really ready for revolution. You know, they used to cut out Bob Marley records, you know, parts that he spoke about to revolution. They used the blade and cut the record, the actual physical record, so you couldn't get jumped. You know, they didn't want invoke, they didn't want revolution. They didn't want people to fight the system. Like even hearing now, you have like people, the government telling teachers not to teach kids about, you know, revolution and capitalism, all these kind of things. But you know, kind of editing and just blacking out certain things. But at the end of the day, Rastafarian music has become what it is due to the fact of sound system.
Yeah.
Because sound system was its vehicle. It wasn't played on the radio. It wasn't played on the mainstream. So how many thousands of people all over the world in corners of the earth know about this music before the internet?
Mm-hmm.
It was because somebody went to a concert, loved the music, bought the records, built a sound system, played the sound system, and that sound system, like a mobile discotheque, traveled.
Yeah.
So you have people, if you imagine, people are dotted all over the UK, all over America, all over Switzerland, China, Japan, Poland, and Australia, spreading this music constantly from that time till now. These positive messages are being heard, and they're being taken up by new countries like Mexico, Peru, Colombia, Argentina, certain places, Russia even, that has their own little sound system. There's so many places there's so much poverty in the world and so many people fighting for their own freedom. They use reggae music as their theme songs. 100%. And it's just, it's inspiring a lot of people.
And that was something I wanted to discuss as well, because it's interesting to see, again, it began in the Jamaican community, but it is expanded so widely now. But what I think is amazing about reggae music and sound system is that it's managed to maintain its identity. I know I'm Jewish. I know from my culture, at least, one thing that everyone's terrified of is as soon as you let in things, we lose that sense of identity. As soon as more stuff comes in, it loses. But that's something that's never been a problem for reggae music. That's never been an issue, I don't think. It's managed to maintain that really strict identity. How do you think it's done that? How has it managed to maintain the identity?
I'd say it's managed to do that because the mainstream has never wanted to touch it because it was too revolutionary. So actually that has been a big favor for us. It's never been watered down. We've never had corporate companies come in and try and dilute it down and sell it back to us. Yeah. It's been that kind of boy in the corner that, I see, you see him, but you don't want to, because he's a bit like Dennis the Menace, he could start a riot, It's a bit like that. So, even the way how certain Rastas look, people find it very intimidating, big dreadlocks, a big hat, like a big beard, it's what they would now consider like terrorist looking, but just due to prejudice and what the media has kind of thrown at them. However, have a conversation with one, he will tell you about your life and what is to come. It's amazing. So it's, we've had that kind of prejudice against us for a long time. And you have people like myself who is not of that stereotype, but still within the message, still within the culture. And you have a lot of younger people which have now come in, which you would never think they produce reggae music or they have a sound system, because they just look like me, a young guy wearing a hoodie, and a cap or a snapback or whatever, wearing Nike. You would never think that. So that has kind of changed, but the message has not changed at all.
Yeah, it's managed to stay. And what I know when I listen to it, I think what's always amazing is that, again, it's this very it's a relaxed, chilled out music, but then exactly as you said, at the same time you sort of get almost disjointed, because then the message is so revolutionary. You're like, wait, hold on, this isn't that sort of relax. It doesn't sort of add up. The message sort of takes you out for a second, if that makes sense. And I always find that's why I think people if they're just browsing past it, but then if you listen, that's when you really
the words, people do get lost in the beat, because you can get lost in the beat as well, because remember, our kind of style of music and the kind of music that we play, as in the instruments, comes from African culture. The drums, the frequencies, the bass lines, all of those come from a revolutionary time in Africa, where we use the talking drum to talk and send messages through communities through the air. We used to play certain frequencies, and that someone would hear that in a different community and say, oh, they're coming. Even the Maroons back in Jamaica, when they were under attack by the British Empire, that's how we spoke with instruments to each other to know that the enemy is coming, or this and that's happening, or we use sounds to talk. So we do that now within our music, and reggae music has always held these kind of notes, even the notation, they're minor chords. And if you listen to kind of slave call-ins and slave songs where they were in the ships, the kind of gospel music, it's all minor. It's where it's like crying and very emotional music, very music that kind of touches your soul. Certain codes, certain keys within the music are hidden, which we listen to, and you can hear that a lot in gospel music today, mainstream gospel music or whatever. It's never in a major chord; it's always in minor. for that emotional feeling, and we've kept that. We've kept that. We held our with the black notes, they call them.
Yes.
They're called the black notes, and we do with the black notes.
Yeah. It's or the blue notes as well, and Sammy Davis Jr. talks a lot about those, which is fantastic.
Blues as well. Look at blues music. It's the same. It's the same emotional. You know, that even blues again. It's about a poor man's cry. You know, it's about that emotion, that him being downtrodden, saying, "Oh, I lost my wife. She's left me." Da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. You know, it's all emotional.
Oh, they say some people long ago were looking for a different tune, one that they could croon as only they can. They only had the rhythm, so they started swaying to and fro. They didn't know just what to use, but this is how the blues really began. This is the way the blues began. They heard the breeze through the trees, singing weird melodies, and they named that just the start of the blues. Then from a jail there came a wail from a down-hearted frail, and they played that as a part of the blues. Now from a whippoorwill sitting high on a hill, they took a new note and they pushed it to a heart until it was worn ahead to a blue note. And then they nursed it, rehearsed it, and then gave out the news that the Southland really gave birth to the blues. From a whippoorwill high on a hill, they grabbed a new note and they pushed it to a heart until it was one ahead to a blue note. And then they nursed it, rehearsed it, and then gave out the news that the Southland gave birth to the blues. Everybody, they nursed it, rehearsed it, and gave out the news that that old Southland gave birth to the blues.
You said before and about that revolutionary ability that you know, way before anything went viral on Twitter, the ability of sound system to sort of spread these viral messages, and it still does it in quite a, you know, an old fashioned way, but in a way it's quite revolutionary because it still carries on. How is that, you know, COVID-19, what it's come and changed that entire world? How do you think? How you said before, I would like to explore firstly how you've managed to change and develop and produce music and still try and get into that culture, maybe through the internet, but also how do you think it can survive post-COVID? Do you think it can? What form do you think it will just come back up?
Definitely. I've got to say, sound system will be back and up and kicking. Definitely. You know, one time I put up, I was like, you know, I was like, a long time I haven't put up any pictures of my sound system. I put up a picture of the sound system. A guy was like, "Oh, you got to sell that now," and I was just like, "Listen, we're just having a gap year.
Yeah.
That's all. We're just on a gap year. That's all. It's nothing. Like,
just resting.
We can't. We can't take it so serious. And it's obviously difficult, not having these dances to spread these messages. And I thought, how is it going to work? And obviously, because we've been kind of the last industry to kind of even be considered for even help. Mm-hmm. We are kind of doing it ourselves. We haven't received any assistance. I don't know any. I think only the other day they were saying like, DJs can get like a grant from Arts Council and so forth to kind of help them maintain their creative duties and all of these kind of things. But, it's been quite slow. So I see people kind of doing little things and odd things. But I think that message and that spirit is, even a year has passed, is to pass. And people are yearning to hear that spirit. People are yearning to feel those messages properly. People haven't thought, I haven't heard a sound system in a week. I forgot what even a sound system is. This time without has made them want it even more. And because obviously we've gone through so much pressure, people with mental health issues, depression, people suffering with anxiety, it's been hard on those people. And reggae music has always been a home for anybody who has been troubled, whether you're homeless, whether you've been going through any problem. People come to a dance and they literally feel like the weight has been lifted off their shoulders for like 2 or 3 nights afterwards. And they're still walking on cloud 9, and then they need another one. It's that kind of legal drug. The music has been that legal drug to kind of help people. And I see a few people are still selling music. People are still buying music. Music is still selling out. Reggae music is still selling. I thought people wouldn't buy music because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, well, there's no event to play it at. So what are they buying it for? But they buy it because they want to hear it, whether it's at home or whether it's out in public. They buy the music because it is music. We can't live without music. We
can't. And people have been, in a way, more creative over this period. It's been quite incredible, really.
Yeah, obviously people using Zoom. I've seen many sound clashes happen on the internet, concerts, virtual concerts, all of these sort of things popping up. And it's been quite interesting. It's good to see like the older guys, step into the realms of new technology. It's been amazing.
It is good. Although you got to remind them to unmute themselves. That's the important thing, because they're always muted. You must unmute yourself the whole time.
It's good. We all got to learn.
Exactly. It's so true. I wanted to end off again. I want to sort of just end off by exploring that idea you said about sound system, what it means to you, because people, as you said, they come to this sort of event. People might be listening who haven't ever been to a sound system event, and you said like they're thinking to themselves, they go on a night out and all of a sudden all their troubles have gone away. Explain how this happens. What do you think it is, and how does your faith, do you think, play into that as well? How does all that come together?
Well, I don't think it's intentional, because many people have come to just one dance and literally for the first time, like say their friend is a real strong dub guy, they're like, oh, come with me, and they're really shy and they come along, and it's been a life-changing experience to where their friend is now gone and they're just stuck and they're now absorbed in that conscious and that awareness. Because like I said, no matter what color or background you come from, we all suffer with things. We all suffer poverty sometime in our life. We all suffer depression or just being generally sad or feeling that we're the underdog. So if you go somewhere which is not just about boom, boom, boom all night, just playing pointless beats all night and you're getting drunk, but it's actually telling you music and playing you music that can actually, that is spiritually saying lyrics to motivate you, to make you think better about certain situations, to make you think that you're not the small man, even though they tell you you're the small man, you are great. It's almost like, motivational quotes in the morning, but you're hearing them all through a night, but you're hearing them with music as well. It's a mad thing. So it's not just boring. You're having a great time. And there's loads of people there for the same reason. It's almost like counseling. You get me? But you're dancing. And it's like church. It's very weird. It's a very weird experience. I can just tell anybody who, if you haven't been to a reggae event or a reggae sound system dance, I'd just say, just go, whether you're feeling shy or whatever. It's a welcoming place. Everybody kind of knows each other, as in you get to know the regulars who go to and listen to certain sound systems. So there is certain people which follow certain sound systems because they like the way how that sound system sounds. However, we all kind of play the same kind of messages and so forth. So I invite anybody to, come and listen to the elders play, come and listen to the youngest play. You have different levels of sound system. You have the bigger guys who are more popular. Then you have the young guys who have maybe just started, a little group of friends, just started a little sound system, like in Bristol and all of these kind of places. go and listen to them, show support, because they're doing great work. And I'm sure if the government really wanted to help them, they could, because, you know, we encourage teamwork, we encourage team building, we encourage leadership, we encourage entrepreneurship, we encourage kingship and queenship. We have a lot of women in the sound system, playing sound systems. We have women who own their own sound systems, lifting speaker boxes and doing their thing. You know, in Europe, you have a group called Feminine Hi-Fi, which are about 4, 5 or 6 women. I think they're in Europe or they're in South America, and, you know, they do their thing. They're like selectors, they're girls, they like to play music, and they have a sound system, and they go around, and guys love it, obviously. You know, it's a good thing to see, you know, and keep it clean. But no,
that's fantastic. Well, there we are. It's a shout out to Rishi Sunak there to sort of let's get some cash for sound system, support it, and we'll bring it back. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on, Young Warrior. It's really fantastic, and I think if we can have one message, it's as soon as this is all over, drop everything and go to your nearest sound system and just have a boogie, and everything will be okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. After the interview, Young Warrior got in touch with me and he sent me this clip, which I thought I have to play out. It's amazing. Of his father in 1989 playing at a sound system. And the call and response that you just hear is unbelievable. I'm going to let it play on now.
We would like to hear the choir. Ja.
I think you just feel the energy in the room. It's unbelievable and infectious as well. Thank you again to Young Warrior for coming on. So great to have a chat with him. He spoke about hip-hop and R&B. I thought it was just an excuse to play this and end the show. Thanks for listening this week.